On July the 14th at East 22nd and Church, right off of Vanderbilt Avenue, is Manna Christian Fellowship Church. They are having a health fair. They are having a health fair from 10 to 2. They're going to have different venues over there talking about blood pressure, sugar, diet, food, and what you should eat and shouldn't eat. And we're going to have some giveaways from the fire department. We're going to have some smoke detectors and some other devices, that carbon dioxide devices. We're going to have a fire truck over there giving away some pointers and talk to you about what you should do, drop and roll. In that community, that community is lacking a lot of things, and so one of the things that's lacking is the health disparity that goes on over there. Folks just won't go to the doctor because they can't afford it, and so we're going to bring some people in the health field to that community on July 14th at Manna Christian Fellowship at East 22nd and Church, 700 block of East 22nd and Church. Please come out and support Reverend Aaron Moore, who's the pastor, and Reverend Barbara Henry, who is the coordinator of the outreach ministry that will be on along with the rest of the committee members. So don't forget July 14th. Having said that, we're going to go right into my good friend, and I mean when I say this without any doubt, he's my good friend, Jeff Cragg. He's running for governor of this fine state, governor of this fine state of Delaware. And we want to say welcome to you and happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you, and good to be here, Mike.
Yeah, well, what's going on with you? Tell the folks looking at that camera where that young lady's at, and tell the folks a little bit about who don't really know you, because you had a business down on 9th Street.
Right.
So tell the folks a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a long-term resident in Delaware, and my wife and children are here. I've got 4 kids. The oldest is, attorney practicing in Wilmington. I've got 2 who are in college. I got 1 who's in 6th grade. My wife and I still own the mailboxes, et cetera, up on Route 202 in Fairfax. We used to have the UPS store down on 9th Street, so people might recognize me there. Running for governor. The issue, I've talked to a lot of people up and down the state, a lot of people here in the city of Wilmington, and the issue that's overwhelming is the issue of jobs and opportunity. In this recession, in this economy where we're just moving sideways and not moving forward, it's really about creating opportunities for people to do what they want to do in their lives, and that starts with a job. Or for some people, maybe it starts with job training or education, but we need to do more as a state. We have too many people who are being disenfranchised, who aren't able to do what they want to do with their lives, and so my job running for governor is to connect with those people and to convince them that we really can, we have a Republican message that talks about opportunity, talks about hope, talks about a future, and the way you get out of a recession is opportunity, hope, future, and we're just not doing that with the current administration.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned about jobs and education and training, because one of the first things, and it's no secret, I'll never forgive the governor for this. I'll never forgive the governor for this. In reference to education, while they had to do something, and he used his executive power to show the federal government that he had this much power that he can just squash a school to make way for the $119 million he got for the federal school program that came in, that the government gave. And he had squashed the school, which the city of Wilmington had a high school, a charter high school, over on the northeast side of town. And he reached down in there and he said to the federal government, we will take this school because we're going to tell you it's failing, and we haven't given anything to help it progress. And so here's our example. Now, let me say this. Let me say this about the governor. And let me say this about you as parents who have youngsters going to school. The Secretary of Education has left and gone to Maryland. Before you looked around, he had reached down and brought back one of his, or somebody from the corporate world to run education. They shuffled him and rushed them through the Senate to be approved. Nobody really heard of this gentleman. Nobody really heard. I mean, he went right through the Senate with flying colors. Whatever deals that was made, he is now the Secretary of Education. Don't know if he know anything about education. He came out of the business world. But yet still, that's the type of governor who's playing with dynamite under the feet of our children and about their education. So I want you to tell me, what are your plans about education here?
Well, the first one, let's talk a little bit about that process. And it's one of the things that hurts us as a state is this one-party rule. The governor has too much authority. He controls the House of Representatives with a Democratic majority, and he has the Senate with a Democratic majority. So what happens is he's able to cut a deal with a handful of leaders in those two legislative bodies, along with his executive authority, and legislation gets promulgated, people get appointed. If you are a friend of Jack, if you are an insider, they're able to grease the wheels and get things done. And that selection process is part of that. Government, good ideas can survive discussion. Good ideas become better ideas when you get more people involved. So let's talk about education. If we are going to do a better job of educating children in the city, we need to work with people in the city to do that. One size doesn't fit all in education. I live up in Brandywine 100. I live with my kids attended a public suburban school. They are different than kids who grow up in the city. Not different in a way that's good or bad or lesser or better or anything like that. It's just different. It's a different experience. And so when you motivate children, a lot of education is realizing the opportunity. Today I'm going to do some hard work. Today I'm going to do my homework, or I'm going to go to class, or I'm going to participate. And how do you get across to a child who doesn't have the life experience to know that doing homework results in a better outcome 2, 3, 4 years down the road? You need to mentor kids. You need to help kids. Sometimes it's a stick, sometimes it's a carrot, but interacting with children who are living in the city is very different than children who are living in the suburbs. They're not the role models. A lot of people, maybe they're successful, they grow up in the city, and they move out and they go live in the suburbs, and they're not there to be the role model in the community for those kids to see people who have been successful and people who've gone on to corporate jobs or professional jobs. So we need to do a better job of bringing those resources into the city and opening opportunities where kids can really see it makes a difference. Athletics. The reason we have athletics in our schools, athletics are tremendous training ground for kids. A kid plays basketball, practices aren't fun. Showing up every day, 5 days a week to practice after school isn't fun, but it sure is fun when you win that game. It sure is fun when you're the guy who takes the shot at the end of the game and you win it at the buzzer and the team is successful and you're part of that team and you're part of that group. Well, that's why we have athletics in school. That's why we have extracurricular programs in school. And we have to reach out to kids, and then they see that in athletics and they apply that to academics.
So the main reason that the governor was able to do what I just said he did was because of the one-party system.
It's the one-party system, and it's the lack of saying, well, I really want buy-in from everybody in every community. We really should go to the city, and we really should take my candidate and have my candidate interact. City council doesn't have a direct role in education in our state.
That's right.
But they are civic leaders. They know their communities, and they should be part of that decision-making process. Because when we make decisions amongst all of us, we make better decisions.
And Jeff, Jeff, I'm glad you brought up something here. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm very passionate about. I was reading into your statement about local control. It is a different experience when inner city as opposed to suburban or rural areas, and it's a different educational training. It's a different learning technique, and everybody is not cut out to live in the city, just like everybody's not cut out to teach inner city youth. It requires specific individuals, and the city should have a larger role in the education of its constituents or citizenry, because if we don't, this is what happens. You got a one-size-fit-all, as you brought up earlier, and it's not fitting. It's either too big or it's too small. And when I grew up in Wilmington, we had the Wilmington public school system. And I'm gonna tell you, I received during that time some of the finest education anywhere. We were competitive academically. We were competitive. We have all kind of programs that dealt with vocational opportunities. We had great leadership programs. We produced wonderful leaders, great businessmen and businesswomen. And what happened is under the program that we got now, look where the education has went. And here's the biggest impact. Look what it's done to the inner city. We don't have the role models here anymore. They've left. And I'm totally against the state dictating to the city, but when it fails, they put their hands up. And my biggest problem with the governor is that he's become what we say on the street as a hustler. All his programs is gambling, marijuana distribution, online more gambling. All we're doing is say, well, we're just gonna shoot dice and play poker. And that's how we're gonna get out of this. And it's not gonna work. Gambling, listen, I'm an ex-gambler. Most people who gamble end up losing. I mean, you got a few jobs for a minute, but if that's not the way you wanna build a family, it's certainly not a municipality or state based on this shooting dice and playing poker, that's not even good business sense. And I know he's a quick fix type of governor from his past experiences with phone companies. So we need to point out the failings of this kind of give me a shot in the arm. You know, one time my knee was messed up and I went to the doctor, he gave me some cortisone. Felt good for a minute. I was back playing ball. But he told me, this is gonna wear out. You need surgery to fix this problem. We need surgery and we need a surgeon down in Dover that's not afraid to say, listen, shooting dice is not working, playing craps ain't gonna do it. We need some real hardcore policies that's gonna be long-term. And we need to get the Wilmington City Council and the Wilmington Mayor involved directly, because I think it would help the city in terms of economically. The city would be controlling the resources, that we would build high schools back in the city, back middle schools, elementary schools. I'm telling you, it would draw people to fill up these vacant houses. You would do great for the municipality, and if the municipality is affected, becomes independent, the citizenry becomes more mature, more viable, more capable, it's gonna affect how the state goes. So I'm just letting you know where I'm at with that. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I thought I heard a little something in there.
But it very much is getting people involved. And if you get people involved, you make them a stakeholder. You know, I mean, it's not about, I want your opinion. It's, I want your opinion, and then I'm going to listen to it, and we're going to give you the resources that if your ideas work, you're going to move forward, and you're going to have control of those resources.
That's right.
The farther you move decision-making away, you know, I worked with lots of large organizations, had salesmen on the ground all over the country. I'm back at the headquarters. I don't know what's going on at the fringes of my organization. And if I've got the right people out there on the front line making those decisions, you trust that they make the right decisions. Teachers are in the classroom every single day. I will guarantee you that the teacher who is in the classroom with your children knows more about how to educate them than the governor will ever know. Because you're not there in the classroom and you don't see it every day.
We have a governor that's if you go against him, then he's gonna make you feel his wrath, and that's not how you run government. And so let me switch, because we need an hour with you. But
we get ready to shoot. We was getting ready to shoot from the hip. You see, he got his jacket open. Yeah, we ex-gunslingers, political gunslingers.
Because my next conversation is about violence. Listen, there's been a rash of violence here in the last 96 hours in the city of Wilmington. But before then, over the last 5 years, we've had maybe 130-something killings, and maybe 300-400 shootings just recently. And this bothers me, because I see our governor, or the state of Delaware's governor, standing at the site of one of the victims who got murdered. And I think it was for a political show. Because in his 4 years, his first 4 years of being governor, I've never seen or heard of him being at any victim's location where someone lost their life, number one. Number two, I don't agree with him. I don't, and on this instance where, he's going to look at how he can make things better. Well, wait a minute, Mr. Governor, you just stood there in the spot where somebody just lost their life, and you're going to look at what you can do to make Wilmington better all of a sudden. So my question to you, under your administration, because he's done very little in my opinion, and I'm sitting there as an elected official saying he's done very little in my opinion in bringing resources to help fight the crime here in the city of Wilmington, the largest municipality. Because when the city of Wilmington goes, so does the state of Delaware. What would you do in your administration?
Well, the most important thing is as governor, you have to communicate with the constituents, the people in the city, and really prove that you understand the problem, you understand the issue. I stood in my store at 9th Street, 10:30 on a Saturday morning, and I was robbed at gunpoint by a career criminal, a guy who had gone to jail for armed robbery, who was released on parole, and robbed in the 30 days where he went on his crime spree. So I've experienced it firsthand. This year, this exact year, the night that we were down in Rehoboth and we had the Republican State Convention, and I received the nomination from the Republican Party to run for governor, in my old storefront on 9th Street,
right,
a burglar was confronted by a Wilmington police officer. He attacked that police officer, and that police officer shot and killed that burglar. A tragedy. It's a tragedy for the officer that he's had to take somebody's life. It's a tragedy for the burglar, who I am sure did not go in there to steal possessions with the idea that he would lose his life in doing that. But it just shows how off the track the train is, that is a regular occurrence in the city of Wilmington. And I understand that because I'm connected to that shooting, and I'm connected to being a victim of an armed robbery. So I understand what it's like to be in the city. Yeah. I understand what those people are going through. When you go to bed at night, you lock your door. I mean, you're in your own bed and you say, gee, did I lock the window? Did I lock the door? You have to get out of bed and you have to go down. You have those concerns. People who've been shot in their own homes by a stray bullet that's come through a window because it was a drug deal gone bad on the street, and concerned about that, concerned about letting your children to go out and play. Concerned about, is it my neighborhood that's one of those neighborhoods that is, has crime on the streets? We got to do something about that, and it's urgent, and it needs to be done now, and it needs to be addressed. Because as we go through the summer, we all know what's going to happen. It's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and there's going to be more people on the street, and the number of murders and shootings and crimes will just go up as we get deeper and deeper into the summer.
But let me ask you something, Jeff. This really bothers me because I've been robbed twice, armed robbery. I'm not getting robbed again, and then you can read into that whatever. But my biggest problem is, here we got the 2011 or the 2010 Reinvestment Act. I think Delaware got $1.5 billion. That figure is correct, $1.5 billion, and the Lieutenant Governor Matt Dinn was responsible for how that money was allocated or to keep record of it. Now, I grew up in the 70s in Wilmington, where every kid from June, the school was out, to September, had a summer job that worked 40 hours a week. Now, I'm gonna give you a city experience, because a lot of these politicians, they don't know nothing about inner city life. I grew up in Riverside, one of the areas that people are afraid to go to. I live on 3rd and Clayton, where violence happens on a regular basis. Now, last night I was happy to see the police out on bicycles and walking. I believe they should get out there. I'm not against the police, but it's a rough job, but if you sign up for it, you gotta do it. I mean, I work in housekeeping, so if somebody urinated in the floor, they call me. I can't say I ain't gonna do it, yeah. And so what I'm saying is that there should have been resources allocated. I don't care what strings had to be pulled so that every kid could work from June to September, giving them kids something to do, teaching responsibility, getting up, paying bills, contributing to their families, and I'm telling you, you would reduce the number of crimes in the city, and you would build camaraderies again. I don't see that coming out of Dover. And the next governor I vote for is going to be more than a politician, but they're going to be compassionate.
Yeah. And the long-term solution is tough. There is no quick fix. The long-term solution is opportunity and jobs and education and people working for their own futures. That's the long term. We're not going to get jobs in the next 6 months. We've squandered 3 years. I mean, we gave $21.5 million to Fisker to put an automobile assembly plant up on Boxwood Road.
A bus.
And that plant is locked, and there's nobody there, and there's no activity, and our $21 million is gone.
Somebody should be held responsible for that, too.
Somebody should lose their job. And that's the governor, starting with him.
And this is about comparison and contrast. This is about saying, what is the approach the governor's taken, and what is the approach I would take, and they are different, and you need to vote and make a choice, because elections are about choices. And I think there's a clear choice. And as we move through this campaign, I am not going to be afraid to have the governor stake out his position, and I will characterize it as best and honestly as I can, and I will give you my alternative. But with no jobs up there on Boxwood Road, and with no jobs, our unemployment rate is 7-8% statewide. But the unemployment rate here in the city is markedly higher than that. It is tough to find a job, and it's tough to find a job if you don't have a GED, and it's tough to find a job if you don't have a high school diploma. And so we need to do something about that. That's the long-term solution. But the short term is we need resources here in the city because people are being killed. People are being shot.
And I'm glad we're on this conversation. I wish we had more time, but let me say this to you too. When I said that the governor was grandstanding, I really mean, I believe he was grandstanding. Not only the governor, here we are with this one-party rule now. I read in the newspaper that the Delaware Senate is voting to give $200,000 to 5 community centers. That's $20,000 apiece. $20,000 apiece, that's a drop in the hat to take somebody. Why can't they give $200,000 each to each community center so they can hire some additional staff, put some additional programs in those community centers, which comes over roughly over about $2 million, when we just threw $23 million away to the automobile company that took our money and ran back to California. So that really bothers me. And under your administration, I'm like, Cal, I don't care if you're Republican, Independent, boo-hoo, whatever. I want to see some progress in the city of Wilmington. I don't care nothing about what happens anywhere else but the city. I care now. Don't read that wrong. But my first responsibility is the citizens of this great city. And we getting a sign right now. I wish I could pay for another hour, because there's some other stuff. I'm ready to shoot, Cal. I'm ready to shoot, because I'm getting excited about your candidacy, but I'm also angry about how we let the governor and others under this one-party deal get away with so much. Had it been a Republican sitting up there, they'd chew you out if you was the governor right now.
Remember, 90% of life is showing up. And if you can't show up at a crime scene till the 4th year you're governor because you're running for re-election, that tells you something.
Well, here's what it's telling us. We only got about 4 minutes, so I want you to look in that camera, please. Take 2 of those 4 minutes, so I can have a minute, Cal can have a minute, and we can talk about, tell the folks why they should vote for you.
Well, it's about jobs, it's about the economy, it's about opportunity. How do we get Delaware moving forward again? How do we work together all across the state in all communities where every stakeholder gets an opportunity to contribute to what we're doing as a state? And government is there to help. It's not there to take care of you. It's not there to make decisions for you. You know, a government that is strong enough to control your life is strong enough to take all your freedoms away. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for government that is actually making a difference, guiding people, and giving people the opportunity to realize what they want to do in their lives. Because all communities aren't the same. We want to celebrate the diversity. We don't have to educate every child in Selbyville and Bridgeville and Brandywine 100 the way we educate every child in the city of Wilmington. We have differences, and the key is, how do we have those differences, honor those differences, celebrate those differences, and work together as a whole community here in Delaware. So I'm glad to be down here broadcasting today from Wilmington, being in Wilmington, showing up, and doing my part to make a difference.
And do you want them to support you?
And I need your vote. I cannot do this myself. This is something, we're not going to get change. Right now, the Delaware is the Titanic. And we've got these Democratic politicians who step up and they play the music and they go sit in a different chair. And the governor used to be the treasurer and the U.S. senator used to be the county councilman, and they change chairs. But if you got the same guys just getting up and moving from one chair to the other chair, it's not changing anything. If we want change, we got to change the players. We got to change the way people operate. And so that's part of what we're going to do. We're going to change Delaware for the better.
So Cal, you take 1 minute.
If there's one thing that I've learned as a minister, if it's one passage of scripture that sticks with me, it says you reap what you sow. If you plant corn, brothers and sisters, strawberries not going to come up. You're going to get corn. So we need to plant something else if we expect something different.
Well, you heard it right here. We want to thank Charlie Copeland for allowing us to be on this show for this hour. We thank you for coming out. Remember that I'm running for re-election for City Council at large, and I asked you in November not only to support me, but also to support the governor candidate for the Republican Party, because it's really not the party, it's the person. And we're here to make some changes. We want to include everybody and not just have you standing online waiting till we give you something. We're going to show you how to fend for yourself, so you'll be able to do that for the rest of your life. So until we can come back, we want to come back we want a whole hour with you.
Yeah,
we want a whole hour with you. So until we can come back, and we got to talk to Senator Copeland, I'm quite sure we can arrange that. Please remember to vote in November. Please come out and vote, and come out and make some changes. Because if you're ready for a change, you're looking at some of the change right now. The Republican Party is coming back into Wilmington, and we're coming back into Wilmington to give you a choice. Stay tuned for the next hour, and we will see you the first Sunday in July. God bless you. Happy Father's Day once again. Don't forget the health fair July the 14th at Reverend Aaron Moore's Church, East 22nd Street, Manor Christian Fellowship. Until next month, we see you now. God bless.